You are going to have a baby, but are you going to have one now? Hi, girl. She is on her own, and she is panting, but I mean, it is boiling hot this afternoon, and her pregnancy has dropped. In other words, she's no longer carrying it as high as they do. Oh, look at her. She's so wide. We might even have a chance to see baby moving if we look closely. A big girl. Shame. Must be utterly exhausting. And I don't know if it's my imagination, but the Impala seem to walk around with their tails tucked over themselves as if to try and keep the baby in for as long as possible. Ah, there is a chance that Impala ewe is looking for a safe place to give birth. Her water hasn't broken yet. There's no sign of any wetness on the tail or down the legs. So her water hasn't broken yet, but there's a good chance with that level of bulging, essentially, and the fact her pregnancy has dropped slightly. I think there's a chance that she's gone off to find herself a nice safe space to have a baby. And whilst most births occur in the morning, it is entirely possible that they will happen in the afternoon or the early evening as well. Right, Elaine, your cuckoo. Ooh, that was a bit of a shaky one. And I'm so sad bird, except we've changed it now to I'm so glad. Or maybe I'm so fab. No, I don't know. But that is the black cuckoo. And if we ask Brent nicely, while he is in the Mulwati drainage line, as I know he is, he might have a look for you, because that's where they all are. Oh, speaking of looking for things, of course, the best way to do that is on foot. Let's go over to Byron and see what he's found for you.
And look at this little caterpillar that we've just found. I wonder what larvae this is for. And a beautiful little caterpillar. Right out in the clearing. It needs to be careful of birds. If birds see this little caterpillar walking around, they'll try and catch it, feed on it, especially hornbills. And some other species of birds, but we know, and especially the cuckoos. The cuckoos do love caterpillars, especially those hairy caterpillars that we do find on the sides of trees often, branches, and especially off these terminales, you do get a lot of hairy caterpillars there, and those cuckoos love feeding on them. But this little guy needs to watch out for any birds around here. Beautiful color. You can see the coloration of the head and the tail. And that's most likely to confuse predators. And I'm sure that if it was threatened, it would most likely move the tail so that the predator would think that is where the head is, and it might still be able to get away if just the tail is attacked. Purely coloration to confuse predators. Now, something else that's very interesting that we found over here is, and a lot of these clearings around, so I'm just having a look, the grey go-away birds seem to be calling. I don't think it's an alarm call at all. I think they're just calling at one another. But in these clearings, and we've spoken about it many times in the past, there's a lot of sign of little villages that used to be in these areas and little homes. And I found another sign that I find fascinating. And what's happened is, you can see there's a hard, actually a very smooth rock or stone underneath the soil here. Now, what this would have been from is there would have been a little house or a hut around here, and the ladies would have had this rock outside the house, or the stone, and it would have been hollowed out slightly, and what they would have done is they probably grew some crops in the area, perhaps corn or maize, and what they would do is bring that home, and then they'd put it on this, basically a grindstone. They'd put it down, get another big stone, and they'd crush and grind all of that on this very smooth rock, and that has caused it to become incredibly smooth. And I wish you could feel it right around the edge here. It is so smooth. So I'm assuming there's a massive rock underneath the soil, which it's been covered with soil over the years, but there's a massive rock, a smooth rock under there that they would have used to grind down the food and use that to cook. Eventually the food that they ground down, they would have used that to cook with and prepare meals for the family. Something called mealie pup was a staple diet, or still is a staple diet. What it is, it's ground corn, and what they do is they grind it down and then they cook it and boil it in water, and you get this it's like similar to a polenta almost. That's the best way to describe it. Very fluffy and soft, and then they would perhaps try and make a sauce with it, or just eat it like that. And that is a staple diet still to this day in Africa. The mealie pup, or the maize, the ground corn. So very interesting. It's wonderful to find little signs like that around. And the little caterpillar, let's continue and see what else we can find. Again, I'm trying to look in the bark of some of these trees, just because of that, those millipedes that we saw all hiding in there. I'm assuming that maybe if we keep looking around, we might find some other insects that are looking for shelter in the trees or in the bark of trees. So let's have a look around here. What have we got? More caterpillars, there we go. Wow, and look, there are plenty of them on here. These look almost, they look similar to a mapani worm. I don't think they are mapani worms, but they do look very similar. But it's amazing how many of them are all on this tree at the moment. Here's a nice big one. Look at this view. And Paula, the red under the caterpillar, those are its legs. That's exactly what that is. What worms? Look at that. And I think it's trying to mimic something over there. Perhaps to try to prevent predators, and it probably sees us as a predator, so maybe trying to mimic something over there, moving fairly quickly so that we don't disturb it. Incredible colors, and I can't believe how many of them are here all over this tree. And again, I wonder if it's not a case of them trying to stay away, or perhaps predicting rain and trying to stay high up on the trees. I found another interesting little bug. It's amazing when you get to some of these trees what you can find, and just what I expected. Hopefully with the change of weather, there's possibly a lot more activity now. Oh, it's gone. There's a beautiful little green beetle that was sitting on the leaf, and as I looked away, it flew off. So it is gone. Let's see if we can't find something else. There's something. And look at this, a little pupa of sorts. And look at that completely hollow pupa. Now this would possibly have been from a little butterfly or a moth, I think. That's left the pupa behind. Interesting. Isn't that great? Nice to see these little creatures. Alright, now I know Brent was trying to follow up on monkeys' alarm calling. Let's head back to him and see if he's had any luck.
Welcome. Now that is an interesting item if I've ever seen one. Are we going to make it? Obviously they haven't finished with it yet. It still needs to be shaped. Are we going to get stuck? Are we going to get stuck? Nah. Now, yes, those monkeys alarm calling. Jamie went for a walk into the block, had a look, and they ran down the tree, which means it's probably not left. There might have been a snake in the area. So I've made my way back towards where Karula was keeping the cubs, just in case they were very well hidden this morning. I'm going to do a quick look on Leadwood Road, then I'm going to come back to this spot, and I'm going to take a walk straight down If there's no sign of them there, I'm hoping to get a better idea from, if I find their tracks, which direction Cooler led them out, which will make a big difference in our job in terms of finding them. Oh, the cat streak is in threat. Oh, apparently the gremlins have decided to come onto our vehicle, so let's go across to Jamie.
Okay, well, Brent battles through a tricky signal area. I did find you some Impala ewes and their lambs, but unfortunately this afternoon, and I think it's the build-up or potential build-up of the storm that is threatening, and the wind is blowing, the wind is howling. We were talking about Impala lamb predation rates earlier and saying that they are on quite a few things menu, and just because of that they are exceptionally nervous little creatures. They're constantly, even more so than the adults, they are constantly on alert, constantly spooking at the slightest rustle of leaves or crack of branches. They're immediately up and running, and the females just run with them. There's another one. Let's stop really far away and see if that helps. Or not. These little guys are just everywhere at the moment. Dashing off after Mom. I'm pretty sure that she's part of this herd that we've just come past, so she's become separated from them. Quite possibly she even left to go and give birth to that little one, because there's a significant difference between an Impala lamb that's a few days old and an Impala lamb that is only a few hours old. The size difference is immediately apparent. Let's see if she'll let us get any closer. Otherwise we shall keep moving on and go and see whether anything's coming to Buffelshoek Dam after the blisteringly hot day. Perhaps something might want to come and have a drink at a waterhole. Oh, luckily we've got really subtle brakes to keep us company. I think the other reason that they're nervous is there is another dead buffalo just off to my right, and they can probably smell it because I can smell it. And that will also be making them nervous, because then they don't know if perhaps there's lions. It's probably a smell that they associate with the lions of this area. Little one. Legs flying all over the place. And off they go. See how agile they are for something so little, or so young at least. Incredible agility, jumping over every obstacle. You never see an Impala lamb fall down. And a very good afternoon to Ashley, who'd like to know, because of course Brent was talking about the difference in our water-dependent versus water-independent antelope, and the fact that little steenbok can get the moisture that they need. And you are absolutely spot on in terms of their anatomy. So Ashley suggested that she thought that the difference in anatomy might be to do with their kidneys. It is. There's a couple of different adaptations that various antelope show. One of the big things, actually, before we go into the kidneys, one of the big things is size. Just because the smaller you are, the less water you need, the less food you need, and so on. The other difference, just in terms of all animals, is their digestive system and what they're adapted to eat. So Impala and other water-dependent antelope don't dig up tubers, which are often very, very high in water content. So their diet is different, and for all ruminants, they tend to be less water dependent than something like an elephant or a buffalo that eats huge amounts of food, and they have to process it. Obviously a buffalo is a ruminant and an elephant is a hindgut fermenter, but a lot of that water is needed to process huge amounts of food. So size is a big difference. But then of course you get antelope in the Kalahari, like Gemsbok, that are absolutely massive, and that, like the steenbok, is where the difference comes in. And that's actually what you thought about with the kidney. The part of the kidney that is specially adapted is in the nephron. And essentially what happens, obviously, with your, and it's quite complicated to go into, but in terms of concentration gradients and so on, the liquid from your blood is absorbed by by the kidneys in the nephrons and processed and then released back into, some of it will be released back into waste, but there's a special part of it, each and every single nephron, which is a tiny specialized tiny specialized part of the kidney, and there's millions of them. The loop of Henle is quite literally a loop that moves through different salt concentrations in the kidney's tissue. And in the loop of Henle, that is where the reabsorption of the water happens. So the reabsorption from the nephron back into the blood. And animals that live in areas that are arid tend to have, or are not as water dependent, tend to have much longer loops of Henle so that more water absorption can take place. So you are spot on. It is in the kidney, and it is in the loop of Henle in the nephrons of the kidney that the water reabsorption takes place. So it's just that much longer, and when you've got lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of nephrons, even the smallest micrometer of an extra length will make a difference in terms of how much water you can reabsorb. And then there's a couple of other tricks that antelopes have, one of which is the gemsbok or the oryx. They've got a cooling structure in their nasal cavities that the blood that's going to the brain, that would usually be able to tell the brain how hot you are, their bodies actually trick their brain and trick the hypothalamus of the brain into thinking that they're cooler than they are, because cooled down blood runs right next to the blood going to the brain, and it cools that blood down, and then that blood goes to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus thinks the animal is cooler than it is, and therefore doesn't waste too much energy attempting to cool the animal down. It's a little bit more complex than that, because obviously the animal can't get too hot either, but it is adapted in different ways, and in that way it doesn't waste any water. Sure. And wind has come out of nowhere. No wonder the animals are so nervous. My hat nearly went flying. Oh, stunning. I'm hoping, don't go too far. Oh, drat. There they come. There goes one there. Let's just see where they land, if they land. It's a pair of African hawk eagles. And there comes... There you're gonna go. Just trying to see. Watch them before they land. Okay, let's try there. Let's go and see if we can't catch up with the African hawk eagles. Birds, of course, are particularly good at conservation of water because they don't urinate. Now, speaking of birds and doing the different bird calls, Jean would like to know about a bird that is known as the ghost bird and wondering what the actual name is. And Jean, the ghost bird is known as, its official name, English name, is the grey-headed shrike. The grey-headed bush shrike, sorry. So it's one of the more, there we go. It's one of our more secretive birds. Sorry, these are my favorite raptors. And Jean, I'm going to do the call for you in a second, and I'll explain a little bit more, but I just don't want us to miss this opportunity. It's there on that dead tree, Gert. I don't know if you can see at the back there. Perfect, thank you. For some reason, African hawk eagles are definitely in my top 5 favorite birds of prey. You always see them in pairs. I can't see the second one, but I know that it's there. I saw them both come in together. And they're especially adapted at hunting birds from the air in pairs. So one will fly high and one will fly low, and together they will ambush particularly guinea fowl and francolin. You can see the feathers all the way down to the feet, making it a true eagle. And the name hawk eagle just comes from the fact that it is an eagle that has a hawk-like shape to it, but it is a true eagle. You can hear the squirrel. Actually, you probably can't because the wind is howling so much that we can't turn up our ambience. But there is a squirrel alarm calling at the presence of one of their most dangerous avian predators. Their small size makes them particularly agile. They're not bulky birds like martial eagles built for taking down properly big prey. There he goes, or she. Seems like she went right down to the ground there. Might go and investigate. And before I do, our ghost bird. Oh, my whistles are wobbly today. And the reason it's called a ghost bird or spookfowl in Afrikaans is because you hear them, and it's quite a haunting low whistle that just sort of comes from one vague direction, and they're usually so shy so you don't actually see them, you just hear them, hence the name spookfowl, the combination of their secrecy and the fact that they've got such a haunting whistle to them. So it's the grey-headed bushshrike. As I said, I've been totally silly and left my bird book, otherwise I would show you a picture, so I'm sorry about that. Silly mistake to have made. I was rushing to swap everything around onto Jigger. I'm just going to go and investigate and see if I can't see what our lovely hawk eagle pair is up to. While we do, let's go across to Byron, find out what he's up to.
So there's a lot of cloud cover around here, and we found something quite interesting in this beautiful big apple leaf tree. Wonderful, wonderful tree. And I'll tell you a story about that shortly, but have a look in here quickly. And it looks like a lot of millipede little shells again. Remember I spoke about how scorpions and that often eat them, and sometimes civets and maybe a genet, but usually civet love feeding on these millipedes. But I think this is probably from a scorpion that's left these little millipede shells behind on the exoskeleton. And then have a look at this inside here, a little egg. Now I don't know what that egg is from. Tiny little egg. Very interesting. Just the one though, I don't see any others, so perhaps what happened, maybe a few eggs were laid in there and whatever it was hatched out of there and moved off, and maybe that little egg didn't survive or wasn't incubated correctly, but I'm not sure what it is. I don't know. But very interesting to see how this apple leaf, this section, I think what possibly happened is a large branch would have been off of this side and it broke off and left part of this tree exposed, and animals have been using it as shelter and as a home. I just wanted to have a look over here. Alright, Jim, sorry, I was just getting your question there. And Jim, you want to know, and we can see a lovely termite mound here, you want to know, are all the termite mounds in an area linked to a large termite mound, and is there one queen in that large termite mound, and all the other termite mounds are satellite mounds which feed through and support that large one? No. Each termite mound is an individual termite mound. There will be a queen inside there and its own colony. So they are completely separate. They will not be part of another termite mound or linked to it. There will be a queen, there will be soldiers, there will be workers all within this termite mound, and that's it. So, but there are different species of termite mounds or species of termites which build different termite mounds. So some will be much larger than others, and others will be really small. Some don't build termite mounds at all. I saw something else hanging over here that I'd like to show you. I'll have a look at this. This is interesting. There is a pupa of sorts from a little insect that's been left there, and that is actually from a cicada bug. And usually what happens is the cicada bug then crawls out of that and flies off. So it starts as a little beetle of sort, or it looks like a beetle, but it's a bug. It's not part of a beetle family at all. And then this cicada then forms this pupa, and what happens is it attaches itself to a branch and then eventually makes its way out of that pupa stage and flies off as the cicada bug, which we are so used to. So we are so used to hearing. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe the difference between bugs and beetles. Sure, what is the... I've absolutely been stumped now by my own comment. I don't know. I don't know what the difference between beetles and bugs are. Beetles generally have a hard carapace, and I think a lot of the beetles that we do get around are winged. Some of them, not all species, but some of them are winged. I don't know. I'm stumped, completely stumped. I have no idea. I'll have to look that up and find out for everyone what the difference between a beetle and a bug is. But the cicadas are bugs. A lot of people refer to them as beetles, though. And I think I'm going to go and try and read up on the cicadas, or not the cicadas, but the difference between the bugs and the beetles that we get in this area. I hope you've enjoyed our walk this afternoon. It's been nice and cool now, which is great. So we're going to say goodbye from myself and VM. Really hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you all tomorrow. We're going to head back to Brent for an update. Bye, everyone.
Karula keeps flummoxing us, but we have spotted a pretty birdie. Where is he? He's not being the nicest pretty birdie. He's walking, going, gone. He's gone. And he might pop out to... forward a little bit. No, he's gone again. He's through that gap. Oh dear. There's a black-bellied bustard, but unfortunately... He skedaddled behind the bush. Let's see if we can get a view from this side, possibly. There he is. He's there. There we go. Yep. Oh, he's being a very tricky bustard, this one. I nearly said another word, but of course that's not the bird. There he is. Gotcha. Yes. It's a shy bustard. Looks like a female. So of course the males have that wonderful champagne pop cork call. And I can't hear any males calling to impress this lady. She's all unattached. Maybe that's why she's so nervous. Oh, bye-bye. So, we have literally tried almost, well, I'd say probably 70% of the roads in Djuma looking for Karula today. No such luck. The mating pair, or not there, well, we haven't seen the mate, but the pair of lions, Amber Eyes and Mfumo, have been found in Buffalo's Hook, which is also not great news for us. So, I'm trying to think, what is our last hope? Will Queen Karula arrive at the end of the day to save the cat streak, or will it be over? Will we have to start again? We all knew this day was coming, especially with the rains. The more it rained, the likelihood of our cat streak coming to an end became very, very probable. I haven't checked the top part of Central Road today. And just an interesting update for you guys about the Nkahumas. They are on the Sibambili Elephant Plains cut line, so very, very far to the west from our boundary. But Tingana, where he was last seen around Red Dam, so there's a possibility he might move as it gets cooler towards Djuma, so we might go check around the Gowrie Gate in that area. So apparently Jamie was trying to show you... Oh, there's a cuckoo. Some birds, and as we say that, let's have a look. How's that, Jandre? Should be. He's there. There we go. Oh, African or European cuckoo, Jandre? African, are you sure? So there we go, we can teach Jandre about cuckoos and we can all learn together. So the African and European are extremely similar looking, but there's a very distinct difference to do with the bill. Now if we look carefully at the bill and see it's quite a dark bill, And I'm waiting to see. Jean, you want to have another guess?
No.
Are you sure? No? Is all I'm getting is no? 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 Okay. So it was... Oh, has he flown? Oh, so that was actually the first European cuckoo of the season that I've seen. So if we look at the African cuckoo, it's got 50%, almost 50% of the bill is yellow with the black tip. And if we look at the European, the black extends way further down. So there we go, first European cuckoo for me of the season. I haven't heard them because they don't call here, but I'm pretty sure they've been around. We just haven't looked at too many. So there we go, European cuckoo. Now Jamie was talking about, was it lesser grey shrike? I think was one of them, and she forgot her bird book in Wendy. Oh, a black cuckoo. Well, we were on the cuckoos. Now, the black cuckoo has got that wonderful call, I'm so sad. And you can see why indeed, let me do it this way. Why indeed it's called a black cuckoo. Because it's black. So there we go. And they've got that wonderful mournful call. And then the shrikes. There we go, shrike, shrike, shrike. Was it lesser grey shrike that Jamie was talking about? There we go, they should be arriving soon. Alright, it seems like Final Control is a little confused. It is not the lesser grey shrike. We have seen them once on camera before. They are a sort of uncommon migrant, but it seems like Jamie was actually talking about a bush shrike, which is a different family, and of course. Here we go, let's find them now. Oh, wrong way. The ghost bird, which is the grey-headed bush shrike. A very pretty bird. We saw one on the Sunrise Safari very briefly. A very heavy bill, and an orange breast, and that very prominent grey head with a yellow eye. So there we go, the grey-headed bush shrike. Very different from the lesser grey shrike, but hopefully we will see a lesser grey shrike this rainy season. Well, there's not much of a sunset tonight with all the cloud around, but Jamie has managed to find a gap, so let's go have a look.
Sorry, I had to laugh at that. I managed to find some sunset. I did manage to find some sunset for you, and I happen to think it's quite dramatic in its own way. The build-up of the storm to the west that I don't think is actually going to happen. I don't think we're going to get any rain, but I think that's a beautiful sunset, don't you? Let's stop for a moment and just take it in. Beautiful. And the thick, dramatic clouds scudding across the sky in these high winds. Judy, you wanted to know whether or not, if I know, whether other parts of the park have been as fortunate as we have in terms of rain. Some of them have been even more fortunate than we have been. I know that to the south at Crocodile Bridge, which is one of the southernmost points of the Kruger, they had well over I think it was a good 70 to 100 mil rain a couple of weeks ago. So they've had quite a bit, which is good because the south was actually looking the worst I've ever seen it in many, many, many years. In terms of the central Kruger, we were a little bit luckier in the beginning, but they've also caught up with us in terms of the amount of rain that's fallen. And then the north, of course, somewhat conversely to the normal sort of rainfall patterns, actually was in a much better state to begin with. So the north of the Kruger, Shingwedzi and further north from there had actually had far more rain than the south had, which is unusual because it's usually much drier up there. But it seems as though the topsy-turvy weather conditions had actually benefited the animals in those parts of the park. A lot of the areas of the sand, to be more specific, in the Sabi sand, initially didn't have any rain, and that was why we were seeing buffalo herd after buffalo herd after buffalo herd on Djuma, and elephants around every corner. And that was just a few months ago. It was about 2 or so months ago, after we had our first big rainfall on the 18th of September, because it was David's birthday, and he guessed the day right when it was going to rain, so I remember exactly when it was. Whereas the rest of the Sabi sand actually had nothing. Arathusa had very little. The southern parts of the Sabi sand were still looking almost desert-like, and there was Djuma, this little green oasis sitting in the middle. So we were fortunate there, but the rest of the sands, it seems as though it has caught up with us. On these boiling hot days like today has been, these storms often build up, and on a normal summer's day, they should be breaking and dumping a couple of mils of rain on us every day. Not every day, but every couple of days. And that's just not quite what has happened this year as well. And of course it didn't happen at all last year. And the storm that's built has gone off. It's blowing straight off to the north. So I don't think, unfortunately, it's going to mean any rain for us. But let us move on now that we've taken the opportunity to take in the atmosphere. I hear you were talking about cuckoos with Brent. I saw something really unusual this morning, and unfortunately I didn't have any signal, nor... Oh, jigger. Sorry. Let's just see where that hornbill's going. I got distracted by a hornbill that's going to a nest. Definitely taking food back. Unfortunately, it's gone right into the dense vegetation off to my right. This morning I saw something unusual. I didn't have any signal, nor in fact did I have the reflexes. Hello! Hi, little guy. I'll tell you what I saw in a moment, but I have to stop first for this. Oh, but you are cute. Now I'm not so jealous of Steph anymore. In fact, I'm pretty thrilled with our little rapidly escaping tiny little tortoise. Hello, little leopard tortoise. I'm just going to give you a perspective of it, how big it is. Don't run away. Oh, it's highly mobile. It's highly mobile. Hi, little one. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. How cute is this? Look at it next to my hand. And actually, the little ones are usually quite comfortable with us. Let's see if it'll do it. Yeah. Hi! Oh, you are so cute! I find little baby tortoises absolutely irresistible. This one's probably about a year old. Just by the way, it is not a newly hatched tortoise, but it's absolutely minute. Isn't it cute? Off it goes, racing along. Bye. Cat, jealous anymore. Cat, how big was this Steph? About the same size. Bye, little guy. Sorry, that was the reason for the high-pitched and very abrupt halt while I was driving along. I'm going to be constantly aware of what's in the road in front of you. I'm just going to reposition and then we can talk a bit about tortoises. And then I'll tell you what it is I saw this morning. I love tortoises. I have a distinct fascination with them. I think it's the expressions on their faces. Now, as we watch our little tortoise beetle off at high speed, those of you who've been watching for a long time will know that we of course have a policy of not picking up tortoises or harassing them in any way, and that we stand by. And you'll notice that I didn't pick him up there. I just put my hands in front of him to see if he would walk over them, which he did. And the young tortoises are usually a little bit more trusting than the adults. Now, we didn't stress it out in any way. It was just like one little extra obstacle to climb over, just to give you a really nice perspective of scale. Where are you going? Look at the little tail. I got asked this morning if tortoises have tails. They do. And there's one sticking out at the back there. Male tortoises have slightly longer tails than females, and that tells me that this is probably a little female. She's got long years ahead of her before she reaches her. Well, of course, tortoises keep growing throughout their lives. Oh, whoopsie. Everything's a very big obstacle when you're very small. Even a stick. Luckily, she's built like a tank and is pure determination. Where are you going? I've lost her in real life. Where did she go? Oh, I see her now. Bree, you wanted to know how big tortoise eggs are when they are laid. Bree, I'm actually not 100% certain. I think it very much... I would have thought it would... No, sorry, that's not true. The number of tortoise eggs depends on the size of the female, not the size of the tortoise eggs itself. I'm going to guess and say they are probably roughly the size of that buffalo weaver's egg that I showed you a couple of days ago. And I'll indicate with my hand roughly how big, or maybe just a little bit smaller than that. I'll indicate with my hand how big I think a tortoise egg is. Probably around that big. Reptiles tend to lay bigger eggs for their body size than birds necessarily do. So maybe about that big, but I'm not 100% sure. I really honestly don't know. I'm just thinking in terms of turtle egg size. Turtle eggs are about so big when they lay them, and a tortoise, a sort of reproductively ready female leopard tortoise is much, much smaller than a turtle. So I'm thinking maybe something like that. But I'm not 100% certain. I can tell you that the usual size is around 6 to 20, depending on the size of the tortoise. This morning I guessed at around 20. I went and double-checked that it is between about 5 to 20 eggs that a little tortoise will lay. Let's just watch it before it disappears, just because it's such a fantastic little thing. Now, David, we tend to think of reptiles as something very primitive, when in fact they are kind of the opposite. Just because they look like dinosaurs doesn't mean that they necessarily are. You want to know what it is that makes them live so long. I think one of the big things will be quite a slow metabolism. Just in general, the snakes, the lizards, they tend to be relatively long-lived animals. But I see what you're asking, because of course a tortoise can live 70, 80 years, particularly a leopard tortoise. I don't know, David, I'm not sure. Slow growing, slow metabolism, I'm not sure. But very, very good question. And I'd love to see if there's any sort of suggestions about why it is that tortoises live so long. Crocodiles, of course, can live for decades, and so can some of the largest snakes can live for a good few years. Very good question, and not one that I know the answer to. I should probably have washed my hands after touching the tortoise. You want to know if they carry salmonella? They can. They're not particularly hygienic animals, and you'll notice I'm particularly reluctant to touch recently deceased tortoises. I don't mind touching the living ones, although they can carry some nasty things, and that's because particularly the females will go and nibble off rotting bones, and they will also particularly target hyena scat. They will go and they will eat hyena scat as a way of upping their calcium levels. And that in turn is obviously not a very hygienic thing to do, and it does make them quite a dirty creature. Well, there's a couple of reasons why you shouldn't really handle tortoises. One is that. The other, of course, is that if you're picking them up, they are very likely to release their bursa of water, their storage water, as a defense mechanism. And that can actually, especially in a dry season, that can really do them some serious damage in terms of depleting their water supply. And those females need that bursa. They need it to soften the soil to lay their eggs. What are you doing now? Have you stopped? Stopped for a rest? Has it been a long walk? No, everything's long when you... Oh! going to sleep. I've never seen a tortoise yawn before. I swear I've never seen a tortoise yawn. Have you ever seen a tortoise yawn? Leopard tortoise. I think we've broken our cat streak, and it was a baby leopard tortoise. Does it count for our cat streak? Questionable. Let's see, maybe it'll start to count in the last half hour or so of the safari, clutching at straws. Perhaps we'll go and find a leopard orchid and complete the selection. James, I've never seen a tortoise eating fruits that have fallen off the trees, but they probably would, yes. I don't see why they wouldn't. They might take a nibble or two off it. One of the things, the big things that tortoises really like, not so much the leopard tortoises, but the Speke's hinge tortoises really enjoy, is a good mushroom or a good fungus. They really do enjoy it. And I happened to encounter 2 Speke's tortoises mating once on quarantine, and the entire time the female was just transfixed by this mushroom that she was devouring. She wasn't paying any attention to her very eager suitor. She was just eating her mushroom. So mushrooms and fungus, yes. Fruit, probably. I don't see why they wouldn't. They are, of course, complete vegetarians, apart from the odd hyena scat nibble. They will, which is just really for minerals and for calcium, they will subsist off roots, shoots, and leaves and anything they can find. This tortoise wants to go to sleep. Now, I said that this tortoise, I guessed that this tortoise is a year old. It might actually be younger. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not an expert at aging tortoises. But Jenny, you want to know if tortoises live in families. They don't, unfortunately. Even from the moment they hatch and they leave the company of their siblings, they go on to lead completely solitary lives until they encounter each other to mate. And their moms don't stick around either. So their moms will lay their eggs and leave them. So they are 100% solitary unless they're mating. So even when they hatch and they're just a few hours old, think of the little turtles, the little sea turtles. We discussed this morning. The way that sea turtles hatch and immediately are struck by this instinct to go waddling down the sea as quickly as possible. Tortoises lead much the same lives, except even less social, because often you get groups of turtles together, feeding together at least. Tortoises not. Now, Pokemon guy, you wanted to know if the plural of tortoises is I've tied myself in a knot here. If you have more than one tortoise, would you refer to it as tortoises? I think so. Sounds right. Tortoises. Tortoises. Pokemon guy, was there a tortoise Pokemon? Just trying to think off the top of my head. Was there a tortoise Pokemon or not? I can't remember. But yes, I'm pretty sure that the tortoise, plural of tortoise is tortoises. Now you've confused me, but I'm pretty sure it's tortoises. Okay, we're going to leave our little leopard tortoise to go about its snooze, because it clearly just wants to be asleep, and here I am nattering on. So I'll leave it to have its nap. Let's go back over to Brent and see how his evening's going.
Are we sure it's not tortai? No, I'm joking. I don't think it is. I think Jamie's correct. Tortoises is the correct one. Now, fingers crossed, if Tingana has left Red Dam and he's moved into Sibambili this time of the day, he might cross into Djuma around One Eye Pan, the gate. So we've come right up to this area. Also hoping a bit cooler. Maybe there's a little bit of meat left on that hippo. Probably not. Maybe a one hyena would be quite nice. We checked all the hyena dens this morning. Alas, no hyenas. But maybe we might see a hyena on the left carcass. It doesn't that hippo carcass at Sydney's. A little bit of cloud build up over the day, and that's just from the heat. I don't think there's any rain in that at all, so let's see what happens. Really hoping for Mr. Tingana. Of course, remember, this is live, so we can't plan. We have had an incredible run of 79 days as big cats. We all knew it was coming to an end at some point, but hopefully either Tingana or Karula will save us before the end of the show. Or maybe a leopard or lion, we don't know. Okay, I'm about to approach the vast... Oh, hello, Swainsons. Highly mobile. No, it's slowed down now. Here we go, a little Swainson Spur Fowl. One of our less seen little ground birds. It's the red face. Now, Spur Fowls have bare faces, whereas Franklins have feathered faces. Now, Franklins and Spur Fowls have those impressive spurs on their feet for battling over ladies. Oh, off he goes. Not quite a leopard, but a very pretty thing indeed. Okay. What will the vast open plain of Sydney's have in store for us? Thinking cats, thinking cats. Closing my eyes even, so if I crash, it's not my fault. Am I going to crash, Andre? Ooh, this is actually quite nerve-wracking. I can't. Okay. We have sweet nothing. Not even a water bug. And absolutely nothing out on this open area. There's what's left of that hippo carcass. Not much. You can see the ribs under the skin there. So the vultures obviously got inside where the hyenas opened up and did a good clean out job. Impala right in the distance, so no leopards there. Let's go check towards One Eye Pan. Now we're right in the sort of northwestern corner of Djuma, right where the entrance to the Sabi Sands is, Gowrie Gate. Now, let's think. Well, since it has been a relatively quiet afternoon with a few birds, reptiles and the odd mammal thrown in, what to do next? Aha! I've got a quiz for you. What am I going to quiz you on, you ask? Well, we'll leave it. Oh, let's think. Since we've seen so many birds today, let's do a bird quiz. So, my bird quiz to all of you is, what bird has the longest migration of all the birds in the world? Which bird has the longest migration of all the birds in the world? If you know the answer, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV. Let's see, I'm sure a few of you know that. Who's going to be the quickest on the keyboard? Now, so Red Dam's over there. Last tracks of Tingana apparently heading west towards One Eye Pan, which is over there, and then generally from there he crosses this road and into Djuma. Now, I know people don't mean to, but occasionally accidentally things do blow off vehicles and stuff. Whoopsie. Oh, I missed neutral. Oh, and radio is attached. So if we do ever see anything, pick it up, throw it away when we get home. Josh in Final Control thinks it to be a goose. Josh, you are very incorrect. Sorry. It is not, indeed, it is not a goose. It is a bird of the water, though, and that's the only hint I'm giving off. It's an incredibly long migration. Well, my hat can never escape because there's a microphone in it now, but there we go, it tried to escape. Sorry for the loud sound as I caught it as instinct took over. The wind's picking up slightly, which is actually quite pleasant, cooling us down a little bit. It has been quite humid and sweaty today. Okay, so we're going to start checking these big game paths that run from One Eye Pan into Djuma. Lindy says the steppe eagle. Lindy, it does have an incredibly long migration, but it's not even close to the longest steppe eagle. I think it's about 8,000 kilometers, but it's still far short of the longest migrating bird. Well done to Jay, Raisa and Zoe, you were spot on. Raisa, I was waiting for your name to come up, I know you know that one. It is indeed the Arctic tern. It has a migration of 11,000 miles, not kilometers. Corrugation. 11,000 miles. I'll show you a quick picture of it. The Arctic tern. Where is it now? Sandwich and Royal Gelbald. There are lots of terns. There we go. Now, that little bird migrates for 11,000 miles each year. The Arctic tern. That's what they look like in non-breeding colours. That's what they look like in breeding colours. With the red beak and the red feet, they lose that and lose their black cap during non-breeding season. Well, speaking of someone who's migrating but not quite 11,000 miles away, let's go see what area Jamie's working in.
I'm just migrating along a Cheetah cut line, and I realized I never finished telling you what it was I saw on my morning safari. And unfortunately, Wendy didn't have any signal. It was when I went to go and search for Tingana early at the crack of dawn in the sunrise safari, and I just wasn't quick enough. We've been talking about all of our different birds. I just wasn't quick enough with my camera. Luckily for me, VM does this for a living and was a little bit quicker off the mark in terms of getting and recording this particular bird, because it's a first for me. I've never seen one. I'm not sure how many, I don't know. I don't think they're that common in the Sabi Sand from what I understand. Maybe they are. Maybe I just haven't been fortunate enough to see them. But I saw a dark morph Jacobin cuckoo, an all-black Jacobin cuckoo. I have never ever seen that before. Typically Jacobin cuckoos they've got this sort of black top and then very clear white chest. And this one was all black with just a hint of white on each wing. And at first I thought I was going completely crazy and that perhaps the sun was affecting me. But then its partner, it was obviously, I don't know if it's female or male, but the normal Jacobin cuckoo came and sat next to it. And we've got quite a few different colour morphs of birds, but some of them are more common than others. Pale warburgs, for example, relatively common to see out here. Pale tawnies, also relatively common, but the cuckoos, that's the first time I've ever seen a dark morph of a Jacobin cuckoo. I'm assuming Brent's seen one before. Apparently they're more common towards the coastal regions of South Africa, but that was definitely a first for me. I was very excited about it and quite devastated that I didn't manage to get a picture of it. But as you know, with our birds, and particularly on these live safaris, when it's got wings, it doesn't necessarily stick around for too long. But yes, that was the exciting thing that I saw. Sorry, there's something crawling on my foot. I'd really prefer if it didn't. Here we go. Oh, and just by the way, we were talking yesterday about my itchy feet. The test that I did with all three of the remedies for itchy bites, I put 3 different types of cures, or local cures, on 3 different tick bites, and they're all itchy again this afternoon, so none of it worked. Although I think that the marula tree, perhaps with constant application, might have been the closest. Maybe it just needs a regular topical application of the cures in order for them to work. But my once-off application of Bushman's grape, panicum grass, and marula tree bark. The marula tree bark worked for the longest, but I think that is a test that will have to be conducted a few more times before we can draw any proper conclusions from it. So there you go, the complete 24-hour test of Jamie's itchy tick bites. Marula tree bark seems to be the best, but they're all itchy again after 24 hours. Now, let's see what we can find. I wonder, it might be a little bit early, and they might have moved. I'm hoping not. But while we were doing our late night safaris, when James was in the Mara, we discovered a few bush baby popular haunts, the places where they spend their days, basically bush baby nests, where they will spend their days sleeping tucked up and then come out as the sun starts to go down. And it's round about this time of evening that the bush babies start to stretch their legs, do a few yawns, and move about. Let's see. This is the tree, if I remember correctly. Let's see if we can spot a bush baby here. I don't know where exactly in this tree they sleep. Hold on a moment, I'm sorry, I'm going to need to do some plugging in of my spotlight to help us out here. At least you've got a nice view to keep you occupied while I attempt to do this. Oh goodness, we're very tangled. Hold on a moment. Sorry, I had to grab the spotlight in great haste from Wendy this afternoon. There we go. Now I think they are sleeping in that hole over there. That's where I think they spend their days, tucked away in there. It'd be terribly convenient if you would pop your head out, little bush baby. Come on, little ones. They might, of course, be in a completely different place. Or they might be deciding to have a little bit of a lion, or they might have left already. I don't see any signs of movement. It was worth checking. Let me just check the rest of the tree quickly as well. No. Sadly not. No bright eyes reflecting back at me. In our house in Hoedspruit, we've got 3 bush babies living in our roof. It's terribly sweet. They come out every evening around this time. They also happen to be the fattest bush babies I've ever seen in my life. Sorry, got distracted by the Game Drive channel. But we do have 3 bush babies that live at our home in Hoedspruit. They are very, very cute and very comfortable around people. Just checking out some tracks that I've just seen. They are honey badger tracks. Unfortunately, it's now a little bit late for us, or it's not quite spotlight time just yet. Oh wait, it was this tree. I'm so sorry. I've just had a sudden flash of memory. I was in the wrong tree. And I think that's where they come out, over there. Alright, let's repeat this process. Sorry, now I realised it was this tree. Rebecca's doing a bush baby chant in my ear. Will it work? Dun dun dun. No. It won't. It was a good try though, Bex. Good try. Oh, they might live in there as well. Sorry, I found all kinds of holes in this tree. Maybe they live in there. Nope. Okay. I give up. No bush babies today. I think somebody was just trying to call me. No. Okay, maybe they're trying, maybe they've decided to have a little bit of a lie-in this evening on account of the weather. And while I leave my bush baby tree devoid of bush babies, let's go find out what Brent has planned for the rest of his sunset safari.
Well, no sign of Mr. Tingana, no alarm calls. It is deathly quiet and a little bit windy now. And I think Jamie's got a great idea. Look for some bush baby nests. So I think I'm going to have a look at one I know about. I wonder if it's the same one Jamie was looking for. We'll find out. But it's not quite spotlight time, as Jamie said. It's that sort of in between where your eyes are better than a spotlight at spotting things, and we're looking for any little subtle thing that stands out that could be something interesting for us. So Jamie's bush baby tree was on Cheetah Cutline. It is not the same as the one we're going to go have a look at now. Also, once we've checked there, we're gonna roll the dice again, have a look around Treehouse. Maybe Karula's around there. She does like that area. Maybe she got thirsty, needed to go for a drink. Fingers crossed. Now, today I've been to the south, to the north, to the east, and to the west of Djuma, and we have not found any sign of a kitty cat. Oh dear. And no, there was nothing on Arathusa and nothing on Cheetah Plains. So our best bet was Karula, I think, possibly to appear. She might still yet, you never know. That's the joy of being live. Oh dear, I've got hooked. There we go. I've released myself. Now, strangely enough, I haven't heard anything from any of the guides or whatnot about Shadow. She hasn't been seen in a very long time. I wonder where she's hiding. And we went through a stage where there were quite a few new young female leopards that were appearing all over the place. They seem to have disappeared. Quite a few of them seem to have gone further to the south, closer to the Sand River. But I will keep my ear out for any new lions or leopards in the area. So I said there was a new pride of lions that was seen south of Gowrie Main. Well, a new for the north. I was chatting to Tristan about it. We both think it's more than likely the Sparta pride or Ifield pride that comes from Londolozi or Mala Mala. 5 or 6 lionesses, and that caused those Styx lionesses to push up north. They've gone back towards the east now. And we're nearly at the bush baby nest. Who knows? Will the bush baby nest bring us a big cat? We can only hope. I know everyone is quite sad that the streak might be coming to an end, but if it does, it sets us a target to beat next time. We all knew as soon as it rained, the streak was going to be in danger. Hi, Gremlins General. Gremlins General would like to know that Arctic terns who travel an incredible 11,000 miles a year, do they refuel or do they travel non-stop? They do stop on the coastlines and sometimes even on ships, and they do refuel, but they do feed during the migration on little fish while they are traveling. Okay, spotlight. Now, where's that bush baby nest? It's around here somewhere. Hopefully an elephant hasn't pushed it down. Okay, I think it's in this gap here. Oh, has it been pushed down? It might, looks like it might have. Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, it looks like it's gone. Or am I being confused? Is it still a little bit further? Ah, maybe I was... could be there. No. No. Okay.
There he is.
He's there. Where? Oh, he's there. He's there. Okay, it hasn't been pushed down. It's a squirrel. He's claimed it. It was a squirrel. Did you see him? Squirrel has a bush baby nest. Now the bush babies aren't there. Okay, no, behind the squirrel with the spotlight. But naughty squirrel. Now, bush babies obviously have different homes they utilize during different times of the year, depending on what they're feeding off. So it's sort of timeshare, because other creatures, as you'll see, will use that home. Squirrels, certain bird species as well. So it can be a bit of a bun fight. Little owlets, barred owlets and pearl-spotted owlets often have big fights with bush babies over nests. Genre on the... oh, it's ducked down. I think, what was that little genet? I just saw some eyes on that termite mound. They just ducked behind. I'd say, just judging from the size, it was probably a genet. Let's just see if we can see behind the... Now, quite often the genets sprint off at a rate of knots. Maybe we'll get lucky. Oh dear, no such luck today. Luck just doesn't seem to be on our side today. It still beats a day behind a desk any day of the year, week, month, etc. And who knows, will our cat streak continue? We have minimal time, but maybe the Queen will be gracious enough to make an appearance. But while I do keep my search going, let's go see what Jamie's up to.
Clock is ticking. Will the Wild Earth Safari Live cat streak will be broken? It would be a catastrophe of cataclysmic proportions if we were to break our cat streak. We have searched high and low, perhaps the catacomb equivalent of Djuma, in order to find them. And we might even be catatonic when we return. Running out of words, and I can't do this with a straight face. We might be catatonic when we return. When we return to Djuma empty-handed. That cannot be allowed to occur. Come on, Karula. You've always been so good at popping out. Going to Catawal. And Jackie J, absolutely. If we have to break our cat streak because it means that the Nkuhumas are healthy, it's a good thing. And the fact that they've moved away is a really, really good sign. The cubs are getting big. They're healthy enough to walk large distances. It is a great thing. It is a fantastic thing. And of course, it is a natural progression of the fact that we have had a little bit of rain. Things have dispersed. Cats have moved off in search of other prey. It is just part and parcel of us going into summer. So we couldn't have kept up the cat streak forever, not that I'm giving up just yet, but we could not have kept up the cat streak unendingly. It's completely wild. It isn't a zoo, and I'm for one am thrilled that our Nkuhumas have recovered to the point that they're hunting buffalo on Simbambili. I'm sorry, I can't stop trying to think of cat words now. And I guess the caterpillar doesn't count. Perhaps we'll see a serval. Let's try that. Let's try and see a serval before the day is out. That will count. Or a wildcat. I don't think, unfortunately, we could honestly call a genet part of the cat streak, but that would have been nice as well. Let us see what we can find. Perhaps we should have bought some catnip. Put it on the side of the vehicles. We would never do that, of course, just to clarify, in case anybody happens to stumble upon this unexpectedly and are not sure as to our motives or ethics. Well, perhaps we should look for some cattle instead. Thank you, Joshua. We'll go. I don't think I want to find any cattle here. But maybe if we don't have that far to go in order to find some cattle. We just have to go to our gate and out, and we should find some cattle wandering about. Oh dear, this is indeed a catastrophe. Perhaps it's because we're developing cataracts. Oh, that's a bit of a stretch. It's a cat word.
Can't put it in that category.
It says we can't put it in that category. What category is this? Oh, hello, little scrub here. Oh, sorry, everybody. You're not a cat. You're a hare. With a very fluffy tail. It's on the menu for our smaller cat species. Oops, sorry. That was my fault. I can't believe I didn't think of category. Well done, cat. Okay, Karula. Kitty kitty. It's never worked before. We've got to try everything at this point. We're cutting it very fine. An 80-day cat streak broken. No. How many minutes have we got left, Rebecca? Rebecca tells me, wow, that's actually incredible. How's this for a strange thing? Our cat streak started the day that it was on an afternoon drive on the 9th of September, was that right? The 9th of September, remember back when the two little Nkuhuma cubs disappeared the first time. They disappeared and they were gone for nearly 3 days, and they were reunited once again with Brent on the afternoon sunset safari. That was when our cat streak started. And just think of all of the incredible sightings we've had since then. Lions hunting buffalo. We've been through the tragedy of the Nkuhumas and the loss of their two cubs. We've had Karula being chased up trees by wild dogs. We had Tundi escaping from baboons. We had Karula escaping from baboons. Had Tingana escaping from a lion, although I'm not quite sure if that was still within the cat streak phase. We had Karula jumping down to go and catch the rest or fetch the rest. It was in the cat streak phase, apparently. So we've had Karula being chased up trees by wild dogs and then going to fetch the kill. We've had Tingana and Shadow mating and then being chased up trees by hyenas. We've had Quarantine, Tundi, Shadow, Tingana, Anderson with that massive warthog. All in all, we've had a pretty successful run. Well, it seems as though Brent has found something. It's not a cat, but let's go and see what it is.
This is absolutely incredible. I saw this sort of weird shape being scuttled across the road. Now, it's a massive spider hunting wasp, and it's actually managed to catch a baboon spider, and you can actually see the incredibly large jaws of the baboon spider to the left there, and you can see its hairy body. Now, that spider, it's probably a male baboon spider, just judging from the size. Now, she isn't strong enough to fly with it, which is what she normally does. So she was actually dragging it across the road. Now she's probably got a hole quite close by, and she'll probably lay sometimes up to, in a spider that size, maybe get more than one larvae in, but she'll lay an egg in there. And that baboon spider is not actually dead, it's paralyzed. And then the egg will hatch while the spider is still alive, and her little larvae, the future wasps, will eat the inside from the inside out. But I don't think I've ever seen one of these wasps with a baboon spider before. And there we go. That's why they're called spider hunting wasps. And that's impressive. I mean, that baboon spider is much bigger than her. Let's see, you can see the pedipalps on the baboon spider still moving, so he's paralyzed more than dead. Oh, sorry, Genre. Let's see what she does. This is really fascinating. This is not something you get to see every day. Now, normally the wasps aren't hunting at this time of the day, and the baboon spiders are generally nocturnal. So what's happened is she has got this at sort of a last light. The baboon spider is probably emerging from its burrow. Come on, are you going to move it? I nearly ran them over. I just saw it at the last second.
Can't see your tracks.
There. I stop. Wait, if you come... There we go. If you come out of it, Jono. There. That's where I hit brakes. You can actually see a line in the sand. So she was actually under the car. Oh, she's moving. Now, that might even be just too big for her. What she might do is look for a spot to dig a hole close by. Claire is wondering, how big is the wasp? Oh, look, she's cleaning herself. Now, Claire, that wasp is probably about 5 centimeters long. Now, if she doesn't manage to get that spider somewhere safe, one of the ground beetles or something might steal it from her. Does it look like she's dragging her back leg? Oh. What's she doing? I think she might have decided that the spider's too big. Well, she might come back, so she might just... she might come back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go very quick. Oh, she's coming back. Don't want to disturb her, but I just wanted to show you the general size of that spider. I just want to get my torch. Okay, she's gone away. We're going to have to make this quick. You can hear her. She sounds like a small helicopter. Oh, she's coming back. She's gone away. I mean, she's gone away. Okay, quickly. I'll just show you. There's my hand. So it gives you an idea. And you can actually see, as I said, the mandible of the spider. She's coming in again. Quickly away. Okay, well, that's really cool. I don't want to disturb her too much. So let's move along. Maybe the queen will be around the corner. We never know. But that is really cool. That is not something you get to see every day. And that's absolutely fascinating. That's really massive spider prey for that spider hunting wasp. Oh dear, 3 minutes. 3 minutes for the cat streak. Well, we're going to say goodbye and we'll see you in the morning unless we find Karula. And if we do, you'll be back with us. But till then, let's go say what Jamie's up to. Hopefully she finds a cat.
I thought I found a cat. I got really excited. I thought I'd found the serval that lives at Philemon's Dip, but it was a daker. Sorry. I got really overly excited. Sorry, it wasn't a dake, it was a steenbok. Let me get my antelope right. It was a steenbok, it was not in fact a serval. And so unfortunately, unless Karula magically pops out right now, and look, I've had some weird things happen on these drives, but unless she pops out right now, I think it is farewell to our cat streak. Oh dear, oh dear. This is a tragic day. Not that tragic, but it's quite tragic. It's a little bit tragic. We were on such a good run. Oh well, we still have amazing things to show you. That sounds like an amazing sighting with the spider hunting wasp and the baboon spider. I haven't seen that in a long time. It's incredible moments like those, not just about the cats, as much as we are complaining about the fact that we didn't find any today. It's not just about the cats, it's about all sorts of extraordinary things, like baby tortoises. And yes, the plural is most definitely tortoises. Those are the moments that make these afternoons so incredibly enjoyable. We've still got, how long have we still got, Rebecca? 2 minutes. 1 minute 30? Oh, that is disastrous. I thought we had at least 30 seconds extra. Come on, Karula. Rebecca says if we find her a cat, she'll give us 30 seconds extra. Oh dear, I don't think we're going to make it. I don't think we're going to make it. Oh dear, the 60-second countdown has begun until the end of the Sunset Safari. And so it is time for us to do our goodbyes and our thank yous. So a big thank you to Gert for his wonderful camera work and for clarifying that it was in fact a steenbok, as well as to Rebecca and Jerry in final control, and to Alex for fixing Jigger and getting her back up and running once again. And thank you to Brent and to Byron for being out as well as VM and Jandre. And most importantly, a big thank you to all of you for joining us, sending through your questions and your comments. Thank you so much, and I hope you've had a ball, even if we didn't have any cats on today's safaris. We shall not have to dwell on this. We'll have to catalogue it and catapult ourselves onto the sunrise safari. Catch you later.